So, what happens when a person of faith decides to put God on trial? When the world is just spinning out of control and the silence from above is absolutely deafening. Today, we're diving into one of the most raw, honest, and just profound dialogues in all of history. The story of the prophet who dared to question God.
It all kicks off with this question. And let's be clear, this isn't some polite little inquiry. This is a raw, gut-wrenching cry from a man named Habakkuk. He's watching his entire world unravel, and he is demanding to know where God is in the middle of it all. It's a plea that feels just as real today as it did thousands of years ago.
All right, so let's try to step into Habakkuk's world for a minute, and it is a grim picture. He's about to lay out his case, his evidence for why he feels totally abandoned and why his society is just on the brink of complete collapse.
His complaint starts with the corruption he sees every single day. This isn't some abstract problem he's reading about. He says it is right before me. He literally cannot escape the constant sight of injustice and brutality happening among his own people.
And, the decay doesn't just stop with violence. Society itself is tearing apart at the seams. People are fighting, arguments are exploding into open conflict. There's just this constant state of friction and hostility. There's no peace, no unity, nothing.
And this right here gets to the absolute heart of the matter. This isn't just about crime anymore. It's a total system failure. The very laws that are supposed to create order are completely useless. Justice is paralyzed. And that is the final straw that launches his desperate cry to heaven.
So, Habakkuk demands an answer, and boy, does he get one. But it is the absolute last thing he, or anyone for that matter, would have ever expected. See, he wanted God to fix the problem, but God's solution is about to make things look infinitely worse. Okay, so here's the crazy paradox at the center of this whole thing. The problem was the wickedness inside Habakkuk's own nation, Judah. But God's supposed cure? He's raising up the Chaldeans, the rising Neo-Babylonian Empire, one of the most brutal and feared military powers of the ancient world, to be his instrument of judgment. And listen, this is no exaggeration. The text describes them as a bitter and hasty nation. Their cavalry is faster than leopards, more ferocious than wolves at dusk. They literally laugh at kings and fortresses. Their entire purpose for existing, it seems, is violence. This is God's answer. Just let that sink in. Well, you can imagine, this shocking answer pushes Habakkuk to a second, and honestly, a much deeper complaint. His question isn't, why don't you do something anymore? Now it's become, how can you, a holy God, do this? This is a full-blown crisis of faith. So Habakkuk starts his second round of arguments by stating what he believes to be a core truth about God's own character. He's kind of setting a theological trap here. He's basically saying, look, I know who you are. Your very nature is so pure you can't even stand to look at evil.
And then he drops the bombshell. If you're too pure to even look at evil, then why are you actively using a nation that's far more wicked, the Chaldeans, to punish your own people? People who, for all their flaws, are still more righteous than he is. This is the core question. How can a just God use an unjust instrument for his work?
To make his point, he paints this powerful picture. He says the Chaldeans are like these ruthless fishermen, just dragging in entire nations with their nets, slaughtering them without a second thought. And then, and this is the ultimate act of arrogance, they worship their own nets, their own military might, as the source of all their power.
After this second incredibly profound challenge, the whole dialogue shifts. The answer that comes back isn't some simple explanation. It's a vision. It's a truth that completely reframes the entire problem and demands a whole new way of looking at things. And you can see Habakkuk's whole posture just change. He's done yelling. Now he says, I will stand my watch. Just like a sentinel on a city wall, he positions himself to wait, to listen, and to watch with expectation for the answer he knows has to be coming.
And the answer he gets is a vision about the future. God essentially says, write this down. Make it so plain that anyone can read it. It might seem like it's taking a long, long time to happen, but it is set for an appointed time. Trust me. Wait for it. It will not be late. The answer, it turns out, requires patience.
And right in the middle of that promise, we find this single monumental sentence. It's really the anchor of the entire book. In the face of all this chaos and confusion, while you're waiting for justice, the righteous person survives and gets through it by one thing: faith. A steady trust in God's character, even when your circumstances are screaming the exact opposite.
Then, the vision reassures Habakkuk that this arrogant oppressor, the Chaldeans, will absolutely not get away with it. There's a whole series of woes pronounced against them for their greed, their violence, their exploitation, their idolatry. Justice is coming for them too. That is guaranteed.
So all of this builds to the final section, which is maybe the most moving part of the whole story. After hearing the vision, Habakkuk is profoundly changed. We actually get to witness his personal journey from paralyzing fear to unshakable faith.
His entire arc is just captured perfectly right here. At first, his reaction to God's plan is this deep, visceral terror. He says his body literally trembled. But after processing the vision, his final position is a conscious, deliberate choice. Yet I will rejoice. He moves from a reaction of the body to a resolution of the soul.
And this is his magnificent final declaration. He lists every possible catastrophe you can imagine: agricultural failure, economic collapse, losing your entire livelihood. He imagines his world completely falling apart, the very things he depends on for survival just vanishing. And his conclusion? Even then, yet, I will find my joy not in my circumstances, but in God himself.
And really, Habakkuk's journey forces us to ask that same question of ourselves. When the systems we trust break down, when our sense of security is completely stripped away, when everything we rely on for stability fails, what's left?